Is that all you can say? Ebony stared at him. She could feel anger rise like bile in her throat. You can pick up sticks. Boris looked up and had to squint his eyes because she was standing in the sun. Dawn had definitely passed, but it was still early morning. Like I said, you can pick up sticks. Let's see if you can fish. He stood up from where he had been squatting next to the fire he was babying. He took the bundle and unwrapped the blanket. He shook the dirt and leaves off of it and handed it back to Ebony. Lay that out on that rock over there under the tree, so it can dry as much as possible before we pack up this morning. She grabbed the blanket, still angry he hadn't commented on how well she had done gathering sticks, and stomped off to the boulder he had pointed to, and laid her blanket on the top of it. Even though she was angry, now she was feeling anxious about proving herself to him again. She didn't know anything about fishing. Gathering sticks was easy. A child could do that. Boris stacked the fire with little sticks first. He added the larger sticks last. He didn't use the whole bundle that Ebony brought. Instead, he pulled out some larger pieces from a little distance away that he had gathered while she was gone. He took 3 of them and leaned them on top like a triangle. That should burn down nicely by the time we get a fish or two, he said, admiring his handiwork. Follow me, he motioned. Ebony dutifully followed Boris. She was now angry at herself for thinking she had to please him. Her emotions were everywhere. She had no idea what he was going to do next. They walked a little way down from the waterfall where the edge of the water was calmer. He stopped at a deep pool of water where the shore was hollowed out. Get in the water, he ordered. I want you to feel for any holes in the bank under the water. You want me to get in the water? Ebony made a fish at Boris. She reached down and skimmed her hands on the top of the water. It's cold. You can warm up by the fire while I cook the fish. Get in the water, now. He brokered no refusal. Ebony unstrapped her scabbard and sword, the weapons she had carried with her into the forest looking for wood, and laid them on the ground. She kicked off her shoes beside the scabbard. Now what? She asked. You can drop into the water right here. Or you can go where it's not as deep and act like a wussy complaining about how cold the water is, as you slowly make it to this deeper spot. Boris looked expectantly at her. The quicker you catch us a fish, the quicker we can eat a hot meal. It's all on you. Ebony stepped beside the water and dipped her toe in. It wasn't that much colder than the lake behind her father's castle. She wasn't going to let him know that she wasn't afraid of the water. Boris watched her sourly. Tell me you know how to swim. Ebony ignored him and plunged into the water feet first. She let herself sink to the bottom before rising and taking a deep breath. Her teeth were trying to chatter, but she clenched them tightly. She wasn't going to show weaknesses any more than she had to. Or strength either, for that matter. She almost laughed when she felt Nova providing warmth from the core of her body. Thank you, she said. You are very welcome. You got this. Nova's encouragement gave her the boost she needed. She dunked her head into the water and reached under the bank and felt around for any holes in the bank. After a minute, she found one that she could easily put her hand into. She popped her head back out of the water. I found one, she exclaimed. Now what? You found what? A hole in the bank or a fish? Boris asked dubiously. You told me to find a hole in the bank and that's what I did, Ebony said impatiently. Good, it's a start. But it just means that you can find a hole in the bank underwater. Boris's sarcasm wasn't lost on Ebony. She clenched her teeth to keep from yelling at him. What do I do now? She asked, as she stood in the water that was just below her chin, thankful for Nova keeping her body temp up. I want you to put your hand in the hole like this. Boris held his hand out, his forefinger and the finger beside it. He wiggled them. Ebony raised her eyebrows. Okay. Why would I do that? Where's the bait? Where's the hook? I know enough about fishing to know fishermen put bait on a hook, and then the fish eat it and get caught. Boris smirked. Your fingers are the bait, and your hand is the hook. A look of horror crossed Ebony's face as she realized what he was saying. You are joking. No, I am not. You asked and I am telling you. You are the bait. Now get to it. Boris spoke sternly. You are wasting time. Besides, catfish don't really have teeth like other fish. Nova, is this dangerous? I am actually going to let a fish bite me. She hid the panic that was going to drown her, literally if she didn't get it under control. Ask him if he has done this before, suggested Nova. Ebony looked Boris dead in the eyes. Have you done this before? Boris snorted. Many times. Are you afraid, little princess? Hummed Nova. If he has done this many times, then it should be a breeze. He isn't that smart. Ebony giggled out loud. What's so funny? Demanded Boris. Doesn't your dragon tell funny jokes once in a while? Ebony retorted. She dove into the water and looked for the hole. She did as he said. 45 seconds passed. No response. Ebony popped her head out of the water and took a deep breath. Get anything yet, little princess? Ebony glared at Boris before taking a big breath and going back into the water. This time she stuck her hand deep into the hole. She felt something move. She grabbed it and pulled. It was fighting her. She felt it slipping, so she let go. She pulled her hand out a bit before sticking it back deep into the hole. As soon as she reached in the second time, Ebony felt something clamp on the 2 fingers she was wiggling. It felt like small barbs were sticking into her skin. She couldn't yell from the pain because she was still under the water, and she was running out of air. She put her thumb on top of what felt like a head, and slipped her ring finger into the gill. Nova, she cried out. I got you, she exclaimed. Nova came through with the power Ebony needed. She felt extra strength in her grip and in her arm as she pulled the resisting creature from the hole and tossed it on the bank towards Boris before her head breached the water. Ebony threw herself onto the rocks and drug herself to the grass where she lay face down, panting while resting her head on her arms. She felt something warm on her forehead. She got her breathing under control before lifting her head up and looking. Ebony screamed. She stood holding her arms, screaming and screaming. Boris was in the middle of cutting the fish's head off. He dropped his knife where she was standing, screaming hysterically. Ebony, what's wrong? Boris asked her another time after shaking her, trying to get her attention. Ebony, what's wrong? My arm is bleeding, she screamed at him. What did you make me do? Did it bite my hand off? Boris started laughing. It's not funny. Ebony raised her good hand to slap him. Boris caught her hand mid-swing. He tightened his hold on her wrist while grabbing her other wrist too. Ebony's blood had been flowing profusely from the scratches on her wrist where the catfish had bit down, only because Nova had warmed her body up in the cold water. It took a few minutes for it to cool back to normal body temperature. Now that she had started cooling off, her hysterical screams were heating her back up. Stop screaming or I will slap you, yelled Boris. Get control of yourself so I can look at your arm. Ebony stared at him defiantly. You did this to me. You made me do something I have never seen or even heard of before. Now you're mad at me because you let a fish bite my hand off. I will never forgive you for this, Ebony yelled. Boris wrestled her for control of her arm. He stretched it out so they could both see how badly her arm was cut. It's just a scratch, he said disgustingly. Go over there where the water is moving swiftly and wash your arm off in clean water. If you feel it needs to be wrapped afterward, let me know and I will do it for you. I have to go get this fish cooking, or we will end up wasting the whole day over your stupidity. Ebony jerked her arm out of his hand as he let her go. She almost fell over backwards. My stupidity, huh? Or maybe it's the great teacher I have. She walked to where he had pointed to her to wash her arm. Ebony stepped into the cool water and bent over to let the water run over her wrist. It felt good even though it still stung a little. Once it stopped bleeding, Ebony could tell that the cut wasn't actually a cut, nor was it deep. It was more like a scratch that had torn off enough surface skin to make it bleed and to sting. The scratch was pretty wide from where the mouth of the catfish had clamped onto her wrist, but it definitely was not life-threatening. Ebony felt a prick of shame. Ebony walked over to where Boris was skewing the catfish onto a stick. It was actually a pretty nice-sized fish. Are you going to be all right? Boris asked her gruffly as he rotated the fish over the fire. I am fine. I know now I overreacted, she said defensively, but you had me doing something I had never seen or ever heard of before, and when I got done and saw all the blood on my arm, I freaked out. I am guessing your dragon warmed you up in the cold water. Boris kept his eyes on the fish he was cooking. Yes, so what? Ebony started to feel her anger rise. He was not going to blame this whole altercation on her. Well, when she warmed you up, that got the blood flowing, and it also thinned it out. That's why you were bleeding so much. It's a rookie mistake. No big deal. Boris flipped the fish again. No big deal. I am the one who caught the fish. If I had any idea what it would have felt like or what to expect, maybe I wouldn't have freaked out so badly when I saw my wrist bleeding and felt the way it was throbbing. Ebony wanted to kick dirt on the fish to get Boris to look up at her. But then, she didn't want to get him mad again. You are right. I need to show you how to do this because it's obvious you know nothing about anything necessary for living like a normal person. But so far we have figured out that you can gather wood. You don't know how to start a fire, and you can actually catch a fish. It's a pretty nice one too. Sit down, you've done good. Ebony sat down in shock. She could not believe her ears. Did he actually praise her for catching the fish? Nova laughed. It sounds like he did.